Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast called Breaking the Norms. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Rissy, and Rissy and I have been together for a little over a year now. I wanted to talk to her about LGBTQ plus voting and how we can affect the polls together. So, Rissy, if you'd like to introduce yourself and give some background.
Hi, I'm Rissy, and I am 19 years old, and I'm from Attleboro, Massachusetts. A little bit of background on me. I came out when I was 17 years old. I came out as gay, and my family was very supportive of me, and they are very supportive of me and Annie being together.
Thanks for joining me today. So, here's a little bit of background for my essay topics on this semester. The first was a lot about LGBTQ voters and how beneficial they are for the polls. And then later, towards the end of the semester, I really dived into the history of gay marriage. And for the final research paper, I talked about Donald Trump's policies and how they may progress during his next term in office. So, what has it been like for you being a first-time voter this past election?
So first off, when I went to go vote, I felt very intimidated and I felt like a lot of pressure and I was very scared because obviously there's like a lot on the line with this election. And so since the results of Donald Trump becoming president, I've felt very like heavy-hearted and like sad, especially for the people of the LGBTQ community, because like I feel like since Trump is becoming president, we have to like hide who we've become and what we've worked hard and built up the courage to become, and that's just really discouraging.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, how did you feel being a part of that community and going to the polls for the first time? Like you mentioned, intimidated, but what else were you feeling?
I was like really scared. Like I felt like as someone who's obviously part of the LGBTQ plus community, like I felt even like walking in the polls, I felt like all eyes were on me and like that those eyes were like telling me like, oh, this is not gonna last long. Like I just felt very negative and like hopeful, but also on the other half hopeless.
That makes sense. Give us some of your family dynamics if you're comfortable doing so, and like how this affected your voting experience. Like, were you encouraged to talk about politics, or was it kind of just brushed under the rug a little bit?
Yeah, so my family is not the type of family that talks about politics like at all. And like anything opinionated, we don't really talk about it. And so when I mentioned something about being interested in voting, my family was kind of caught off guard and they were supportive that I vote, but like they didn't ask me like, oh, who are you voting for and why? It was just kind of like this it was like the elephant in the room and it was kind of awkward. Um but I mean I can't really change the way my family dynamics are about it, but I definitely was like an uncomfortable situation, especially for the election.
Yeah. For myself, coming from a pretty liberal family, I feel like my whole life has been talked about, and politics have been a big part of that for my family. So I was encouraged to vote and to discuss the candidates and what I wanted from my family. So you talked about how you came out when you were 17. I came out when I was 15. What was that like for you coming out to your family?
At first I was definitely a little bit scared, not that they weren't going to support me, but just view me differently. Um I'm not the type that loves to have like attention on me, and when I came out to them, the direct thing I said to them was, "Don't make it a big deal." And then I just didn't want them to make a big deal out of it, and so luckily they didn't make a big deal out of it, and they were super supportive. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you fear for your future now that Donald Trump is president?
yeah, I the kind of one of the main things I'm fearful of is gay marriage, and I just don't want that to be taken away. I don't think anybody does. Um, and I'm just fearful of just all the things that's going to impact the LGBTQ community because we've worked so hard to become who we are and get where we are, and it's all just going to get taken away from us, but hopefully not.
Yeah, so to give you a little rundown of Trump's policies during 2016, He put in two restricting LGBTQ plus people during his first term as president. He started by enacting the idea of promoting free speech and religious liberty. This reinforced the federal law that respects conscience-based objections. It kind of indirectly affected the LGBTQ plus community because it allowed conservative Christian businesses to deny their service to same-sex couples. And the second law that Trump proposed was banning transgender people from being in the US Armed Forces. He ended up revoking this and allowing the current transgender individuals who were enrolled to stay, but refusing new recruits from enlisting. Even now, during 2024, he's made it very clear that he is going to do whatever he can to attack transgender people and their rights. So, what's your initial reaction when hearing about all this?
I think it's just sad. I've said it a couple times, but like people have worked so hard, like especially transgender people, like to tell their family and come out to their family and like transition into somebody that they're comfortable being, and for them to have their rights taken away just because they are have done their way of life differently, it's really discouraging and degrading to hear, and especially for just any member of the LGBTQ plus community. It's just like it's almost as if we have to all that work that we did to come out of the closet is having to go back into the closet, and like a lot of people have made a lot of sacrifices to um, kind of show who they truly are.
Yeah, that's really fair. I fear that now that he's president and he has control over the House and Senate and has majority Republican Superior Court justices, then I feel we are at risk of losing our rights. Um, so I know you mentioned gay marriage being one of the greatest things that you're afraid of in the upcoming years. And I would agree. I feel like if the Trump administration did go through with overturning the legalization of gay marriage, then it would have to start with the Supreme Court. If they successfully overturn Obergefell versus Hodges, um, then the legalization of marriage would be up to the states. So, how does this affect you?
Um, it's very intimidating, and obviously not something that you want to hear. That's even in like you don't want it to be something that's up in the air, especially when it's something about like who you are. Um, and yeah.
Yeah. So, I know I have a few things that we could do to be progressive in the coming off in this coming time in office, but do you have any ideas of things we could do as a community and as a couple to stay strong during these times?
Yeah, I think just to, even though we have someone in power right now that is trying to take away everything from us, I think that if we just continue to use our power that we have and just almost act as if nothing is changing, even though I know that's hard because this election is taking a hard hit on many people of America. And the only thing is, I just continue to do what you do and use your strength because the LGBTQ plus community is such a large community that if it makes a difference, a positive difference, that we can like truly make a difference for the rest of the country. And I think that would just be a key thing.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like another big thing is voting in the midterms and then the next presidential election in 4 years because the little elections like that compared to the presidential elections are just as crucial. So, do you have any final thoughts?
No,
Awesome. Thanks for joining me today.
thank you.